Good afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Rangers have been condemned for the lack of safety and has Police Scotland in the report that has been published today, the independent report by the Scottish Football Association. You remember the Scottish Cup quarter final? It was a game that ended up 0-0 and it went to penalties. No one was prepared for what happened after the penalties though, especially the police. When you think about Celtic Park and you think of when games are getting towards the end, there's a whole load of stewards go around the outside of the stadium. That never happened at Ibrox. There's a whole load of police enter the field of play and sort of make sure that nobody gets on the pitch. It didn't happen at Ibrox. If you remember the penalties, Celtic won 4-2 on penalties. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's back at Celtic, scored a penalty. James Tavernier ultimately missed the penalty. Austin Trusty scored his penalty. Even Rio Hatate scored his penalty. And up came Tam the Czech to put it to 4-2. And that was it. Celtic won on penalties. It should have been a happy ending. But no. What happened after that was terrible from a perspective when you look at what we've been trying to do in getting the 8,000 fans back at both stadiums. The breakdown of the independent review of what really went wrong at Ibrox on that day. Ibrox major safety failures have been exposed. Celtic Rangers and the police, were damned in the report. The Ibrox report is damning, to say the least, and it says of damning report of serious failures at Ibrox. The independent report into the Celtic Rangers Scottish Cup quarter final. It's finally been published, and it isn't just about the pitch invasions. It describes two potentially life-threatening near misses, serious failures, and an ineffective Green Brigade ban, disciplinary system, and just stuff not working. Anyway, it's funny they talk about the Green Brigade ban, because the Green Brigade ban was a self-imposed ban by Celtic Football Club. It was nothing to do with the SFA. It wasn't. Seems a bit of whataboutery, if you ask me. It was a self-imposed ban on 250 people that wasn't required. But anyway, I've gone through the 37 pages. 37 pages, yes. I felt like Ross and Rachel, where she said, "Did you read it?" And he said, "Yeah, it was, 37 pages." And here's everything that Celtic supporters need to know. What was really described as a near disaster started by establishing the seriousness of the people, including the possible crush incident outside the Broomloan stand. Now remember, if you went back to the olden days when we used to go to Ibrox, and there was 8,000 of us would turn up, you parked your buses down the industrial estate, you walked around the corner, you walked into the Broomloan stand, and it was fine. There was about 100 metres of distance between the Celtic fans and the Rangers fans, and there was even somebody for TV stood and went, "Hey, look at this, it's all kicking off." Mate, there's 100 metres between us. There's a big car park, an empty space, and Polis in between us. The fact that the Celtic fans were not allowed to go down that route, they were put down basically something a lot smaller, and it created issues beforehand. The possible mass confrontation between Celtic and Rangers supporters on the pitch was also condemned, and the police took 4 minutes and 28 seconds to regain control of the situation. 4 minutes 28. That was an alarming amount of time, considering that there was massed Rangers supporters. Allegedly, well, they were carrying poles, we've seen it. Some were wearing reinforced gloves, and some even came with mass violent confrontation, and that was it. They came to cause harm. Let's not try and say, "Oh, but Celtic fans went on the pitch first here." Rangers fans entered the pitch with poles and reinforced gloves. The pictures were far more serious than the television pictures showed, the report goes on to say. The pitch invasion started when Celtic supporters, let's be completely honest, after the winning penalty, Celtic's number 22 celebrated at the Broomloan stand, and swung on the crossbar. A few supporters entered the pitch. Several hundred then followed. I don't think it was several hundreds, but the report calls the Celtic pitch invasion wholly inexcusable. We look at other pitch invasions over we did it at the time. Derek McInnes, pitch invasion when he was at Kilmarnock. That was fine though, wasn't it? Pitch invasion Rangers when they... Anyway, there's no whataboutery here. The report goes on to say that the Celtic ultras entered the pitch, acted as the catalyst for what followed. Could you imagine a group of supporters celebrating winning a game, a meaningful game, and they're the ones that are being condemned? Celtic supporters cannot be condemned, or cannot be, like, we shouldn't be going on the pitch, right? But they didn't go running up the 3/4 line for the pitch, did they? They stayed within their own area. Let's put this into perspective. You know, winning the penalty shootout at your biggest, well, newest rivals in the SPFL, celebrating with our own team players. Rangers' response was described as threatening by the SFA. This is an important distinction in the report between the fans going on the pitch but from Celtic and the fans going on the pitch from Rangers with intent to threaten, with intent for violence. Let's not say that anything else here. Let's not give them the whataboutery that yous went on the pitch first. Yes, Celtic fans should not have went on the pitch. It's happened many times. It's happened at many games. Some teams have even went on the pitch when they've drawn at lower teams in the SPFL. The fact is that Rangers supporters, including the Union Bears, forced their way past stewards and the police. They entered the track, they entered the pitch, they then ran 3/4 of the pitch to try and get to Celtic fans. In doing so, reactionary, confrontational, threatening manner, with intent to violently confront the Celtic supporters, the report says. This isn't me saying this. This is the independent report from the SFA. Wearing masks, carrying poles, wearing reinforced gloves. How did they know if they were wearing reinforced gloves if there weren't any of them arrested at the point when they were taken off the pitch? The report does not pretend that the behaviour of the two groups was identical. Celtic fans entered the field of play first celebrating. Rangers fans ran on the pitch with one intent. Neither is acceptable, but the intent was completely different. Celebrating on the pitch has been done for decades. Your dad probably ran on the pitch down in England and fucking trashed that back in the day. Ask him about it. And you older guys that watch the channel, you probably partaken in some of that. The Green Brigade were overwhelmed. Tried to overwhelm the entry operation. We need to speak about this because this is one of the critical parts of the document. There was a police drone footage showing members of the Green Brigade waiting until sufficient members had gathered, studying potential weaknesses and acting in a coordinated manner, overwhelming police and the stewards at search lanes. There were also attempts involving forged tickets, ticketless entry, doubling up through turnstiles and forcing exit gates. Gate 31, a steward, a steward of Rangers accepted payments to allow around 30 to 40 Celtic supporters to gain entry. The steward was later arrested. You cannot make that up, man. There's so much corruption. It's all about money with Rangers, isn't it? Everyone, since 2012, since they were liquidated, every single person that has been in that club is all about trying to get the cash out. Even the stewards are at it. Boom, here you go, lads. There you go, get some coin in me. The Green Brigade ban was ineffective. Celtic had reported issued 227 bans, including 197 involving Green Brigade members. Despite this, the attendance discussed attendance was discussed during the planning. Their seating arrangement was discussed. Their drums and planned banners and stuff were discussed. The Green Brigade members still appeared inside Ibrox, even though there was the ban. I don't think that the SFA should really be talking about a ban that was imposed by Celtic Football Club. It's nothing to do with the SFA, that ban. Nothing to do with them whatsoever. But, everybody involved, if the band supporters can obtain tickets through other people's allocation, is the system broken at Celtic? Let's be honest here. Rangers wasted valuable time in the planning. One of the biggest organisational findings that the Cub draw was made on February 8th, given approximately 4 weeks to prepare. However, Rangers initially challenged Celtic's entitlement to claim 20% of Ibrox 10 days before the allegation was confirmed. Ticket prices were not agreed until the 23rd of February. The effective planning period was cut in half. The first multi-agency meeting was only held 3 days before the match. No tabletop safety exercise was conducted. This failure by Rangers, this delaying tactics by Rangers, they knew what they were doing. They knew that the risk assessments would be inadequate. They knew that approximately 5,600 additional Celtic supporters, you wouldn't have the extra time to change the route that they had been taken when there was only 3,000 Celtic fans. Possibility of extra time, possibility of penalties, the biggest Ibrox away allocation in years. It required a different profile for the risk assessment. It required a different entry system. Celtic tried to go and get the old entry system put in place where the fans could go down. This was Rangers doing. Let's not beat about the bush about this one. Despite the huge pitch invasion, which was rated unlikely before, several interviewees used one word to describe the planning and complacency. You cannot have effectively the same plan for 2,500 fans and the same plan for 8,000 away fans, particularly for a knockout game that could have went to a penalty shootout. Celtic warned about the new entry plan. Rangers and Police Scotland introduced that plan to bring 8,000 Celtic fans through a restricted corridor in the Broomlawn end. Celtic wanted the previous Edmiston Drive arrangement to be retained. It was not backed by Police Scotland and Rangers. The old entry system that had previously been used for years before Rangers shat it and cut the allocation due to the fact that Celtic were so successful. Let's not lie about that either. It handled the big allocation. It gave supporters more space and it was familiar to clubs, police and the supporters. Celtic warned that this new plan relied too heavily on supporter compliance. It was unsuitable for non-compliant ultra groups, which did not contain adequate contingency plans. Nevertheless, Rangers and Police Scotland wanted to go ahead with it. Celtic safety officer was not involved in the plan initially designed. 5 search lanes for 8,000 supporters were absolutely ridiculous on the day. Only 5 search lanes provided for 8,042 fans. There was no proper fan flow control, no secondary entry route, no escape route if crowd pressure developed, no adequate plan for ticketless supporters, no CCTV covering the search lanes, it went on to say. The turnstiles were eventually closed for 28 minutes while control was restored, but this created further crowd build-up and potential crushing risk outside the stadium. Police Scotland failures at this point. Police Scotland deployed 590 officers with 111 stationed outside Ibrox. The remarkable point is the number of officers used inside the ground for the league game, with only 2,500 Celtic supporters. Police did not challenge the 8,000 allocation on safety grounds. Resources inside the stadium were limited. Public order Officers outside were delayed when trying to reach the pitch. Officers were delayed. The police were delayed getting into the stadium and getting in. Can you not see what happened on that day? Why was the police delayed getting into the ground to restore what was going on? Police Gold and Silver Command were based off-site. During the disorder, they had live Ibrox CCTV feed, no television broadcast, not proper real-time view of what was happening. That means that senior commanders were attempting to manage. This is ridiculous. At Celtic Park, you can see the hierarchy of the coppers sitting up in their little perch just to the right-hand side of the main stand if you're looking from the pitch. The left-hand side if you're looking from the pitch. Right-hand side if you're on the main stand. Right next to the away fans. The hierarchy of the cops weren't even inside the stadium watching what was going on. The penalty shootout was never properly considered by the SPFL or the SFA or Celtic or Rangers. Players celebrated directly in front of the away supporters. Celtic's supporters entered the pitch. Rangers supporters responded from the opposite end. The rules allow the penalty end to be changed for safety reasons. Penalty shootout was foreseeable in the quarter-final, it said. Could it have been prevented? The provocation outside, Rangers music was played from around 10:30 a.m. while Celtic supporters were the only fans outside, provocating the Celtic fans. Rangers mascot was twice seen provoking the Celtic supporters and had to be warned. This is very damning to Rangers, this report from the SFA. It sounded like small-minded issues, but the match day had already been classified as high risk by everyone involved. Playing up to your knees in Fenian blood and getting yon big fat Teddy to stand outside and wind up fans isn't the most intelligent thing. Rangers deployed 665 stewards from 5 different companies. Some were working at Ibrox for the first time. Some were brought in from England, unfamiliar with the fixture, deployed against organised groups intent on breaking through security lines. One Rangers stand manager was punched in the face and hospitalised. Jesus, from a Rangers fan. Some stewards were reportedly so shaken they might refuse to work at Ibrox again. Don't blame them. The injury to a 10-year-old Celtic supporter, a 10-year-old boy in the Broomland, was struck on the head by a coin. There are conflicting accounts of what happened, it says the report. He did not receive the expected medical assessment inside Ibrox. The standard escort procedure was not followed. He and his father left at half-time to seek medical care elsewhere. That is absolutely ridiculous that a young fan, a coin, come over from the Rangers end and he does not get the medical attention that he needs inside Ibrox. Ban away fans altogether. Ban them from Celtic Park and ban us going to them because they're just animals. They are disgusting animals. The attack on the Celtic supporters' bus after the game, a Celtic supporters' coach was attacked on Helen Street. One Celtic supporter was left unconscious on the road and required emergency hospital treatment. He needed extended care following the trauma. 3 Rangers supporters were arrested. The wider investigation has proved that 31 arrests were made at the time that the report was complete. The report punishes the unacceptable conduct of the suspensions are 2 week, inconsistencies and fines as low as 2,000. The major recommendations are immediate section closures, greater use of stadium closures, fines linked to stadium income, published 3-year punishment tariff, a club's behaviour across all leagues, and there's one thing for sure. The report makes the return of full allocations unlikely anytime soon. I don't think that we should have them. I think that the reduction should be more for safety reasons. The independent safety oversight that was created, ticketing becomes fully traceable. It needs to. That's one of the possible pathways set out. Supporters can no longer transfer tickets freely. Clubs need to prove that they're enforcing bans. Proper multi-agency planning needs to take place, and immediate sanctions need to be introduced. And criminal laws need to be brought up to date. It says the conclusion is that Celtic supporters basically shouldn't have entered the pitch. The Green Brigade's conduct outside the stadium is strongly condemned, and that Celtic's banning system plainly failed. Rangers were the host club. The risk assessment was inadequate. Their entry system wasn't properly calculated. Valuable planning time was wasted by Rangers, and Celtic brought that to concern. Police Scotland failed to challenge the operation that Rangers had put out. Well, we all know why. They're all Masons. Most concerning was the behaviour of masked Rangers fans. And this is what it said. The fans who ran on the pitch were looking for confrontation. This wasn't just supporters getting carried away. It was a series of foreseeable failures by the Ibrox club that seriously brought danger to Scottish football. There could have been a genuine tragedy on the pitch. Whoever carries the biggest responsibility here? Fans shouldn't have entered the pitch, but when you win a game, the spillover always happens. Rangers fans went looking for trouble. The football authorities need to get to grips with it. Rangers need to have better planning. Police Scotland need to stop just agreeing to everything that Rangers want to do. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I'll put a link to the full document in the description of this video. And just try and have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.